Have you ever noticed how easy it is to ignore the person holding your glass? How effortless it is to look through someone as if they are nothing more than air? In every palace built on power, there are two kinds of people: those who sit beneath chandeliers and those who polish them. But sometimes the most dangerous person in the room is not the one giving the speech, it's the one refilling the champagne. The rain began just after sunset, not the soft kind that soothes the earth. This rain struck the city like a verdict, hard, relentless, unforgiving. Outside the White Palace, the marble courtyard gleamed under the storm, reflecting golden lights in trembling streaks. Thunder rolled across the sky like distant artillery. Inside, the world was different: warm, golden, untouchable. Crystal chandeliers shimmered from vaulted ceilings. Music swelled from a live orchestra tucked behind velvet drapes. The air smelled of imported orchids and expensive perfume. Politicians laughed too loudly. Tech investors nodded too confidently. Foreign delegates whispered about contracts worth millions, and at the center of it all stood Malik Shahryar, tech genius, infrastructure pioneer, philanthropist. That was the image. He stood elevated on the stage, one hand resting casually in his pocket, the other lifting a glass of aged champagne. His cufflinks flashed silver with every calculated gesture. His empire was built on artificial intelligence and smart ecosystems: homes that obeyed voice commands, cities connected through predictive data systems, surveillance networks marketed as unbreakable. He had built a kingdom of control. And tonight he celebrated 25 years of marriage, wealth, and dominance. Applause thundered inside, thunder answered outside. Zoya moved quietly between the guests. White uniform crisp against her skin, hair pulled back, eyes lowered, the silver tray in her hands remained perfectly steady. She had worked here for 2 years. To the guests she was invisible. To the staff she was the mute girl. To Malik Shahryar she was nothing, and nothing is the perfect disguise. When Malik reached for another glass, his fingers brushed the rim, a faint smudge. Barely visible, his smile faded. The next second his hand struck her face. The sound cut through the music sharper than the storm outside. Some guests laughed awkwardly, some looked away. No one interfered. "If you're mute," Malik muttered coldly, "at least be useful." The metallic taste of blood filled her mouth. Her cheek burned, but Zoya did not react. She lowered her eyes. Obedient, silent, invisible, inside her chest her heartbeat remained slow, steady, counting. 7 years ago she would have screamed. 7 years ago, Zoya still believed the world was divided into good and evil. She believed that if you told the truth loudly enough, someone would listen. She believed her father was safe. She was wrong. The rain that night had sounded exactly like this one: heavy, violent, endless. Their house was small, modest, and warm in ways money could never buy. The kitchen smelled of cardamom tea and old wooden cabinets. A single ceiling fan hummed lazily above the dining table. Her father, Ishak Rahman, sat with files spread before him. His glasses rested low on his nose. His expression wasn't afraid, it was disappointed. "I knew something was wrong," he murmured to her mother. "But I didn't think it went this deep." Zoya didn't fully understand the numbers back then, but she understood tension. She understood that her father had discovered something powerful men wanted buried: encrypted transfers, government housing funds siphoned into shell companies, construction contracts awarded to fake subsidiaries. Malik Shahryar wasn't just building smart cities, he was stealing from the poor to fund his empire. "I'm going to the authorities tomorrow," Ishak said quietly. Her mother's hands trembled. "Think carefully," she whispered, but Ishak had always believed in balance. Numbers must match. Truth must surface. That belief cost him everything. The knock came at 12:47 a.m., 3 slow, deliberate strikes against the door, not impatient, not rushed, confident. Her father looked at her mother. They both knew. When the door opened, rain rushed in with him. Malik Shahryar stepped inside wearing a dark coat, water dripping from his shoulders. Behind him stood 2 armed men. "You should have stayed loyal," Malik said calmly. Ishak stood tall. "I was loyal to the law." Malik's lips curved slightly. "You still think the law protects you?" Zoya's mother grabbed her shoulders and pushed her toward the kitchen cupboard beneath the counter. "Stay quiet," she whispered. The wooden door shut. Darkness swallowed her. Through narrow cracks, Zoya saw shadows move. She saw her father standing firm. She saw Malik raise a gun. There was no shouting, no dramatic speech, just a single gunshot. Her father fell. The sound never left her. Her mother screamed and rushed forward. Malik stepped aside casually. One of the men poured gasoline across the floor. The smell hit her before the flames did, sharp, suffocating. Fire spread violently across wood and curtains. Her mother tried to reach her father, but flames swallowed everything. Zoya's throat burned with a scream, desperate to escape. She pressed her hand over her mouth, hard, so hard her teeth cut into her lip. Blood filled her mouth, but she made no sound, not one. Through smoke and heat she saw Malik watching, not panicked, not angry, just calculating. He turned and walked out, believing the fire would finish what the bullet started. He never looked back. The house collapsed. Newspapers called it a tragic electrical accident. 2 dead, 1 survivor found unconscious outside, severe trauma, refusal to speak. Doctors called it selective mutism. Psychologists called it shock. The world moved on. Malik's company expanded globally within a year. He donated to charities, appeared on magazine covers, spoke about innovation and ethics. Zoya healed in silence. Skin grafts softened her burns. Her voice remained locked behind her teeth, but not because she couldn't speak, because she chose not to. Silence became her weapon. She studied, she learned coding, cybersecurity, systems architecture, not for money, not for fame, for patience. 2 years ago she changed her name. Sarah, she forged a history. Applied for domestic staff at the White Palace. During the interview they clapped loudly behind her. She didn't react, they shouted suddenly, she didn't flinch. She's completely mute, Zeba said softly. Malik barely glanced at her. Fine, she'll do. They hired her. And just like that, the girl they tried to burn alive walked back into the palace of the man who destroyed her life. This time not as a victim, but as a shadow, waiting. If revenge were fire, Zoya would have burned the palace down years ago. But fire is loud, fire is reckless, fire leaves evidence. Silence, however, silence rots foundations from within. The first time she stepped through the iron gates of the White Palace as Sarah, she felt it, the weight of power, the arrogance of polished marble. The cold precision of surveillance domes rotating above her head, cameras watched every corridor, biometric locks guarded private rooms, voice command panels lined the walls. Temperature, lighting, security, ventilation, everything flowed through Malik's masterpiece, the Shahryar Smart Ecosystem. He often bragged about it during investor tour. This house breathes with me, he would say proudly. Nothing moves here without my permission. Control, that was his obsession, and obsession blinds. Her assigned room was barely larger than the cupboard she once hid in. A narrow bed, a steel wardrobe, a small desk beneath a humming air vent, the vent connected to internal wiring channels. Most people see walls, Zoya saw pathways. That first night she didn't sleep. She sat cross-legged on the floor, laptop glowing softly in the dark. She didn't attack the system. That would have triggered alerts. Instead, she studied it. Every system runs on assumptions. Malik's system assumed internal maintenance credentials were trustworthy. She found the maintenance gateway during the 3rd month. Not a dramatic flaw, not cinematic, just a small authentication loop that didn't question internal requests deeply enough. Tiny. Almost invisible, like her, she inserted a harmless-looking patch disguised as a maintenance ping. No alarms, no flags. She didn't take control. She planted access. Access is more powerful than destruction. During the day, she became furniture. She cleaned Malik's study while he discussed offshore investments. She poured tea while Aryan bragged about hostile acquisitions. She dusted Xavier's shelves while he hid drugs inside hollowed-out books. She memorized everything, passwords spoken carelessly. PIN codes tapped lazily, behavior patterns. When Malik was stressed, he paced left. When Aryan lied, he touched his jaw. When Xavier panicked, he checked his phone repeatedly. Information. She collected it like her father once collected numbers. Only her ledger recorded weaknesses. 6 months into her employment, she expanded access, one device at a time. First the hallway lighting grid, then the thermostat cluster, then the speaker system. She never pulled the threads, she let them sit, waiting. Patience was oxygen. At night the mansion transformed. The laughter vanished, chandeliers dimmed, security lights blinked like mechanical stars. That was when she worked. Code reflected in her eyes like cold fire. She mapped device hierarchies. Created shadow permissions, mirrored small data packets externally to a secure server she controlled, not enough to alert traffic monitors, just enough to archive. She discovered financial backups stored in encrypted partitions. She didn't open them yet. Timing matters. She was not hunting wealth, she was hunting confession. Months passed, then a year. The staff trusted her completely. She's harmless, one maid whispered once. She doesn't even talk. Exactly. Malik never once looked at her twice. He didn't need to. She was beneath notice. And beneath notice is where revolutions grow. One night while cleaning his study, she found something unexpected. a backup drive hidden inside a false drawer. She didn't touch it, she didn't need to. The smart ecosystem had already logged its access pattern. She knew when it was opened, how often, and by whom. Malik visited it late at night. Alone, that told her everything. 2 years. 730 days inside his fortress. 730 nights of coding under recycled air and humming wires. She could have ended it earlier. She could have triggered a financial collapse, but revenge rushed become sloppy. She wanted erosion, slow, psychological, irreversible. She didn't want Malik to die. Death is mercy. She wanted him to doubt, to lose sleep, to question loyalty, to feel hunted inside his own creation, because that was worse. And now the system was ready, access threads woven, data archived. Backdoors silent, all she needed was pressure. Outside her small window, thunder rolled again. The anniversary gala approached. 25 years of dominance, a public spectacle, live-streamed. Broadcast, witnessed. Zoya stared at the countdown she had written months ago. Hours remaining, 36. Her reflection in the laptop screen looked calm, not angry, not broken, just focused. 7 years ago she had hidden in flames. Now she stood inside the palace of the man who created them, not as prey, as architect, and the first crack was about to form. Destruction is dramatic. Erosion is intimate. Zoya did not want headlines yet, she wanted insomnia. It began at 3:17 a.m. Malik was asleep when the master bedroom lights flickered once, just once, not long enough to confirm. Not short enough to ignore. He opened his eyes, the room was dark again. He blamed the storm. The next night the thermostat shifted by 2 degrees, cold enough to disturb, subtle enough to doubt. He reset it. The third night the hallway security feed replayed 3 seconds of archived footage before correcting itself. 3 seconds of an empty corridor. But to Malik it felt like something had moved. He summoned technicians the next morning. They found nothing. Zoya logged every reaction. She didn't escalate, not yet. Doubt must be seeded slowly. A week later, as Malik lay scrolling through financial projections on his tablet, the smart speaker activated on its own. Static crackled, then a faint sound, breathing, soft, measured. Malik sat upright instantly. "System diagnostic," he commanded. No errors detected, the house responded smoothly. He unplugged the speaker himself, his pulse was faster now. Across the hall, Zoya watched through her encrypted feed. Phase 1 complete, instability. Phase 2 required fracture. Family is the easiest fault line. Months earlier, she had archived a private call between Arian and an investor. If the old man slows down, Arian had laughed carelessly, "I'll take control." One way or another. At the time it meant nothing, now it meant everything. Malik received a voice message from an unknown number, Arian's voice, clear, cold, one way or another, nothing else. Malik replayed it 5 times. At breakfast he stared at his son too long. Arian noticed, trust cracked quietly. Xavier was easier, reckless, impulsive, addicted to speed and chemicals. Zoya didn't expose him publicly, she nudged him. His navigation system glitched one night during a street race. Location froze briefly. Dashboard display flashed, "We see you," only for 2 seconds. The normal Xavier's hands shook on the steering wheel. He accused Arian of hacking him. Arian denied it. Malik listened silently. Suspicion fermented. The mansion began to feel different. Lights dimmed unpredictably. Study monitors activated at midnight. Archived financial ledgers flickered briefly before vanishing. Malik installed new firewalls, updated firmware. Expanded security protocols, but he was reinforcing walls that were already hollow because the flaw wasn't external, it was internal, just like him. Then came the ledger. One night, Malik entered his study to find the main wall display already active. A file dated 7 years earlier, transaction logs highlighted in red. The year Ishak Rahman died, Malik froze. His reflection shimmered in the glass. For a split second, he thought he saw someone standing behind him. He spun, empty room. When he looked back, the screen was blank, normal interface restored. He poured whiskey with trembling hands. For the first time in years, he felt watched. Sleep abandoned him. He began snapping at staff, accusing Arian of betrayal, questioning Xavier's loyalty. Even Zeba noticed the shift. "Maybe the house needs spiritual cleansing," she whispered once. Malik laughed too loudly, but he didn't dismiss it entirely. That was the victory, not fear, paranoia. Zoya never smiled. Revenge wasn't joy, it was precision. Each keystroke from her small room carried intention. Each glitch calculated, each doubt measured. She could have ended it already. Triggered financial exposure, dumped files anonymously, but public humiliation without psychological collapse would be incomplete. Malik needed to feel loss before the fall. Needed to understand vulnerability. needed to stand on stage believing he still controlled everything before she removed the illusion. The anniversary gala was 3 days away, live streamed. International press, investors from 5 nations, the perfect stage. Zoya opened her laptop and reviewed the final protocol, video evidence queued, financial documents decrypted. Transmission packets scheduled for simultaneous release to regulators and media outlets. No escape route left unguarded. She checked the countdown again. Hours remaining, 72. Outside, rain tapped lightly against the window. Inside her chest, her heartbeat remained steady, not angry, not trembling, just certain. 7 years ago, she had survived flames. Now she would ignite something far more devastating, truth. The rain returned on the night of the anniversary, not violent, not chaotic, controlled like the storm had learned patience. The White Palace shimmered beneath golden floodlights. Luxury cars lined the circular driveway. Camera flashes sparked against marble columns. Inside, the ballroom glittered like royalty. Crystal chandeliers blazed overhead. A string quartet played something soft and expensive. Investors from 3 continents mingled with ministers and media executives. This wasn't just a celebration. It was branding. Malik Sharyar stepped onto the stage to thunderous applause. His tuxedo fit flawlessly. His smile was practiced. Behind him, a massive LED screen displayed the Sharyar Global Systems logo in sleek silver letters. "My friends," Malik began, voice amplified with confidence, "tonight marks 25 years of legacy." Applause. 25 years of innovation. More applause. "And tonight we announce our expansion into 5 new nations, proof that our systems are not only powerful," he paused for effect, "but unbreakable." Zoya stood near the back wall, tray balanced in her hands, white uniform crisp, head slightly bowed, invisible. In her pocket, her phone rested against her palm. Her thumb hovered over the screen. 7 years, 2,555 days, 61,000 hours. Malik raised his glass. "To control," he declared. Thunder rolled in the distance. Zoya pressed enter. Darkness swallowed the ballroom. The chandeliers died instantly. Gasps tore through the crowd. A glass shattered somewhere near the front. "Backup systems," Malik barked into the microphone. Nothing responded. The LED screen flickered. Static hissed, then grainy footage appeared. A kitchen. 7 years ago, rain against windows. A man standing, gun raised. The hall fell silent. Malik's younger face stared back from the screen. His voice echoed across the ballroom. "You and your principals will bury you." A gunshot exploded through surround sound speakers. Someone screamed. The police chief, seated near the front, stood slowly. His expression hardened. This wasn't edited propaganda. Metadata scrolled in the corner of the footage. Timestamp verified, original file signature intact. Before Malik could speak, the speakers activated again. A woman's voice filled the darkness. Calm, steady, measured. 7 years, she said. 2,555 days. Emergency lights flickered on dimly. Guests turned. Zoya stepped forward. She removed her apron, let it fall onto the marble. Beneath it, she wore a tailored black suit. Her posture straightened, her eyes lifted. "You," Malik whispered hoarsely. "You were mute." Zoya looked at him evenly. "I was listening." The screen shifted. Financial records flooded into view. Shell corporations mapped visually. Offshore accounts highlighted. Transaction trails pulsed in red. "This data," Zoya continued, "has already been transmitted to federal regulators, international authorities, and every major news outlet in this room." Phones buzzed simultaneously. Live alerts. Breaking headlines. Malik's breathing became uneven. "This is fabricated," he shouted. "Deepfake manipulation." The police chief stepped onto the stage. "We verified the files 20 minutes ago," he said flatly. Malik's world cracked in real time. Security officers moved in. Handcuffs snapped shut around his wrists. "You think this destroys me?" Malik spat desperately. Zoya's expression didn't change. "No," she replied softly. "It exposes you." Arian tried to slip toward the exit. Doors locked automatically. "Access denied," the house announced coldly. Malik's own system, rewritten, reclaimed. He was dragged toward the doors as rain poured harder outside. Camera flashes erupted like lightning. The empire didn't burn, it imploded, and implosions are quieter, more permanent. By morning, the rain had stopped. The sky above the White Palace looked washed clean, pale and exhausted, like it too had survived something violent. Police tape fluttered against iron gates. News vans lined the street. Reporters spoke in hushed tones now that spectacle had turned into consequence. Malik Sharyar's empire had not burned, it had collapsed inward, and collapse is quieter than fire. Zoya sat alone on the marble steps. The surface beneath her palms felt cold and solid, no longer intimidating. Just stone, just matter, just something built by men who believed themselves untouchable. She reached into her pocket and removed a small silver locket. Time had dulled its shine. She opened it carefully. Inside were two faded photographs, her father, her mother. Frozen in a kitchen that no longer existed. "You can rest now," she whispered softly. For 7 years, revenge had been oxygen. It had fueled her discipline, sharpened her silence, sustained her patience. Now the weight lifted, not joy, not celebration, just equilibrium. A journalist approached cautiously. "Do you regret it?" he asked. Zoya stood slowly, the morning light outlining her calm expression. "No," she answered honestly, "but I don't celebrate it either." "Why?" She looked back at the mansion. "Because revenge is not victory, it is correction." The words settled heavier than applause ever could. "Power," she continued, turning toward the cameras, "is not measured by how many people fear you. It is measured by how many people you protect. You can bury truth, delay it, deny it, but time does not forget. Every clock eventually returns to where it began, and when it does, it balances." She walked toward the open gates. The city beyond buzzed with life. Cars moved, markets opened, people argued about headlines. Life continued, it always does. Before stepping through the gates, she paused. "Be careful who you underestimate," she said quietly. "Silence is not weakness, it is observation, it is patience, and sometimes it is preparation." That evening, in a small apartment overlooking the river, Zoya sat by the window. No chandeliers, no marble, no control systems humming in the walls, just honest light. She opened her laptop one last time, typed a single line. "The silent shadow does not scream." She paused. Then added, "She waits." Outside, the river moved steadily toward the horizon. Unstoppable, unapologetic, free. Justice, she realized, is not loud, it does not gloat, it simply arrives. And when it does, it restores balance. The screen dimmed, the vendetta was complete.